Good morning or afternoon or night, depending upon where you're watching or what time of day you're watching. But I'm Brittany Hayden, formerly known as Thompson, and today I'm going to go over my program plan for what I wish I knew as an airman from an NCO perspective. So today's agenda, we're going to look at the program overview, the content analysis, the needs assessment, the learning objectives, the evaluation plan, staffing and marketing, and then a summary. So for the program overview, why am I doing this? So there's been an increase in disciplinary action being issued to young airmen for minor things. So what I wish I knew as an airman is directed towards new airmen ages 18 to 24 after they have completed their first term airman's course and have in process with their squadron. So this class would be offered quarterly, and the intent behind this program is to teach them life skills that have not been previously taught or focused on. So like it got here, so this program is designed to teach life skills to help the airmen integrate into military adult life successfully. It allows NCOs to share perspectives and to interact with the airmen to provide insight, points of views, and experiences. While the basics of military are learned in basic training and their job is taught in tech school training, there's still some points that do not have a distinct place for being taught or discussed. The learning objectives are built in a way that allows for non-commissioned officers to interact with these young airmen and provide them insight, points of view, and experiences. And I want to ensure that we are not just instructing another required class, but that we are making an impact on the airmen's lives by giving them invaluable advice and direction. So we'll move on to the content analysis. So at the individual level, let me go back. At the individual level, I'm looking for a few different outcomes. If this program is successful, by the end of it, students should be able to do a couple of different things, many different things actually. Some of those include having a conversation with a superior in a situation where they disagree. They should be able to utilize customs and courtesies to speak with customers, write emails, and interact with peers and superiors. They should understand their chain of command and how to use it properly within their section and their squadron. They should be able to demonstrate knowledge of budgeting and the thrift savings program. They should be able to create a document that tracks their activities for yearly reports and awards. They should be able to demonstrate knowledge of the promotion system and how to enroll in a college course using their tuition assistance. They should be able to define the difference between skill levels and the different sections available for them to work in based upon their Air Force career specialty codes. So our comm career fields just changed dramatically. And so we're becoming multi-capable airmen. And so the career field that we're assigned to is merging with other career fields, so making it to where we can work in multiple different sections. And so understanding that can be difficult for the airmen that have been in a little bit, but also for the brand new airmen that are coming in. So, and then explain individual progress evaluations and career progression for them. So, and then like I said, at this level, there are some cultural differences that we may have to overcome, like that age as a barrier. The age of the implementer versus the age of the student is a big one. So us implementers, we're instructors, came from a generation where we respect our elders and we respect our superiors. The airmen that are coming in now tend to have more of a mindset of you have to earn my respect. And so we'll have to go through that barrier and find a way to break that. So we'll continue the training that they have already received on the respect for authority and the chain of command, the military culture. And so that's what we're trying to instill in them, is the military culture. Let's see. And I talked about the specific outcomes of the program, but it also has positive impacts to the instructor and the facilitator. So while it may take away some time from their daily duties and other responsibilities, it's also going to help them with presenting information and speaking in front of a group of people. So then at the organizational level, so we're going to expect to see less paperwork, better use of chain of command, increased productivity for these airmen, and then NCOs being better prepared for speaking roles coming from the instructing. So the unit would be the host, and we would not have to have funding for this program other than the free breakfast that will be offered. The main drawback would be the time it takes to prepare and present a class, but the intended outcomes greatly outweigh the drawbacks. This program would support an organizational culture of inclusivity by introducing airmen to their superiors early and allowing them to build relationships and connections. Additionally, the overall military culture is being enhanced by discussing and teaching early on what the squadron's missions and priorities are. The challenge of time away from operations is present, but it's very minimal in this situation. And then on the levels of analysis, the final one that we have is the societal level. So at this level, we're going to be creating better equipped airmen, preventing minor infractions, enhancing that military culture, and producing that culture of inclusivity. I want our airmen to be prepared to be seen and heard on base and throughout the Air Force while making our unit look good. So plenty of times when a bad experience happens and it has to do with an individual, that unit that the individual is from gets blamed. So I want our airmen to come from a place that has taken care of them and provided them guidance to be successful in every interaction. Also, as our airmen interact with each other on base, the goal would be for them to share what they have learned and begin to spread the program to other units. If this program can reduce the amount of paperwork for minor infractions throughout the base, it would be able to spread throughout the whole Air Force and to other installations. So that is it for the content analysis and levels of analysis. So now we'll move on into the needs assessment. So for this, our key decision makers are going to be a team of 6. So it's going to be our commander, the first sergeant, the chief, myself, and then 2 program planners that'll be selected. So the 2 major questions that we're going to be answering throughout this is, what training are the airmen lacking to be able to properly adjust to the Air Force's expectations? And what information are the airmen missing to avoid trouble within the Air Force? So the motivation. The motivation is that each of the key members maintains an invested interest in the lives of their airmen. The motivation for a needs assessment is simply to improve our airmen's lives. So the content and purpose. So the current climate of the Air Force with new airmen seems to be one in which there is a lack of motivation and direction. The purpose of this needs assessment is to identify areas in which we are lacking when it comes to training and preparing young airmen for the Air Force and life on their own. So logistics. A budget's not required for this needs assessment, but I would like to see this completed within 1 quarter. I don't want to prolong it. It should be able to be done within, 4 months, 1 quarter. So for the first month, it would be focused on key decision makers' feedback. And then the second month would be focused on questionnaires and focus groups. And then month 3 would be gathering data from legal. And then month 4 would be the analysis of data. So the key decision makers and the members of this team should not need to dedicate any more than 5 hours per week. The questionnaire participants, it should take a minimum of 1 hour, and the focus group should be a minimum of 4 hours on one-time occasion. The data from legal will be gathered in the final month. That'll be the analysis of that data. So the respondents, let me go back to the logistics. So the respondents of the questionnaires and the focus groups, the respondents of the questionnaires will be the first line supervisors, and the focus groups will be the airmen at this level. So we'll get questionnaires that are created by the key decision makers out to the first line supervisors, and we'll get the airmen in on a focus group. The techniques will be structured questionnaires, focus groups, and then that data review of the legal records documenting disciplinary action for Joint Base Lewis McChord. So going into the data collection and analysis, questionnaires developed by key decision makers and administered to first-line supervisors and to the airmen. The key decision makers will review the data from legal, and the program planners will take detailed notes during the focus group discussion. From there, we will sort and prioritize the needs. So each key member of the group will rate the problem areas identified just as they would grading a package. So in the military, we're familiar with grading packages, so it should be easy for them, but we will rate them on a 1 to 5 scale, with 5 holding the most weight and 1 holding the least weight. From there, our top issues will be identified, and it'll narrow down our topics for training. So more issues will be identified, I'm sure, than what we'll have time to provide training for. And those won't be discounted, but they'll be put to the back burner and maybe eventually incorporated into training, but they won't be our primary focus at the moment. And then finally, we would communicate these results. So after the commander has had the opportunity to review and agree with the data, he would be able to distribute to all supervisors in the communication squadron. So moving on to the learning objectives. So for the organizational learning objectives, participants will be able to consider their options on a wide range of topics to maintain good order and discipline. This will decrease the amount of paperwork airmen are receiving and strengthen their connection to the unit. On the individual level, the learning objective is that participants will understand the Air Force way of life and be able to identify behaviors and thought patterns that could lead to paperwork. Additionally, participants will be able to implement strategies to maintain good order and discipline. Cognitively, the participants will apply knowledge from multiple different areas, including financial awareness, benefits, customs and courtesies, physical wellness, and career progression. They will be able to recognize behaviors that do not comply with the Air Force standards, and they will be able to demonstrate understanding of their chain of command. On the affective domain, they will be able to understand the impact that paperwork can have on their career, and they will be able to review previously learned information from basic military training and technical school training with a better understanding. And then moving on to the evaluation plan. So for support, so overall, the key decision makers that were identified for the needs assessment will be our support for the evaluation plan. These are going to be the stakeholders in the program. They will be the ones that will decide on the continuation, the discontinuation, or the adjustment of the program. So for the involvement, we'll also get the Quality Assurance Office involved at this point, and the in-class instructors. So our instructors will be made up of NCOs that have volunteered for these positions. And then the Quality Assurance Office already does evaluations on personnel and equipment. So they are a permanent evaluation team that can manage this program permanently to ensure that there's not any turnover issues when people PCS. With this evaluation program, we will be looking to identify if the program has met goals of reducing the overall amount of disciplinary action against new airmen and the learning objectives. So we want to look at, can they build a personal budget for current needs? Do they have the knowledge that they learn to manage TSP and explain their retirement plan? Can they create an email response to a customer? And it goes through the rest of our learning objectives that were already identified. And then for the evaluation type, so we're going to use multiple different evaluation types to properly evaluate this program. One of them is a records review. So we're going to review the records to identify the amount of disciplinary action that has occurred for new airmen since the program began compared to the amount of disciplinary action that had occurred prior to this program being initialized. So this technique will give us quantitative data that we can link back to the program's efficiency of teaching the airmen things that they needed to know to avoid getting into trouble. To verify deeper, we can also look at what the disciplinary action was written for specifically and link it back to the specific topic that was taught or discussed. Another evaluation type that I would like to utilize is focus groups for supervisors of new airmen. We will have these focus groups specifically with supervisors whose airmen have been through the program or are currently enrolled for the program, and we'll do this bi-yearly to discuss improvements, adjustments, successes, and failures of the program. Through this type of evaluation, I hope to discover ways in which the program can be adjusted to continue to meet the needs of the squadron and the airmen, to provide them with the best possible product to help the airmen in their Air Force journey. So I'm not hoping just to hear success stories. I'm hoping to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that we can continue to adjust the program to meet those needs of the airmen, and so that they're successful airmen and it is a successful program. And then, I skipped through the evaluation questions. So some of the questions that we're going to ask is, what behavioral changes were witnessed, if any? Did the airmen utilize the new information that they were given? Did you have to administer less disciplinary action, including verbal counseling and paperwork? What information should be added or removed from the program? What would you change about the program to improve it? Did the program meet the intended outcome? These topics, along with others may be brought up in dialogue, should provide sufficient data for the supporters and key decision makers. Data can be collected in a report format as conversation is flowing and then broken down into different sections. For data analysis, we'll be using both quantitative and qualitative processes and procedures. Specifically to the records review, I'll be looking at the quantitative data. How many instances of disciplinary action were taken per quarter prior to my program being implemented, and then how many instances of disciplinary action were taken quarterly after my program had been implemented. With this number, we can also look at prior instances of disciplinary action and tie them to the program objectives or learning outcomes to see what may have been prevented with the program, and this would be qualitative data. The focus groups for supervisors of airmen who have completed the program will produce qualitative data. From this focus group, there will be notes that the analyzer will need to make sense of and format into a way that the data makes sense and can be read. As far as judgments, so are the students successfully completing the learning objectives? If the answer is yes, and the completion rate is above 95%, then I believe the program is successful. Has the program impacted the organization in a beneficial way? What does the quantitative data from the research records review show? If the data shows a decrease in disciplinary action, even if it's just 5 to 10%, I have to believe that the answer to this question is yes, the program has impacted the organization in a beneficial way. The goal is not to completely remove disciplinary action, but just to decrease it. The focus group data will be able to reveal if our effective goals are being met long term. For example, are the airmen still being respectful, operating using their chain of command, using proper customs and courtesies, using their learned soft skills, working out effectively, etc.? For these effective objectives, I believe that 80% is a win. If we can get 80% of the airmen on a path to success, we are successful in our program. I've realized that not every person is meant to be in the military, and that is not a reflection of the military or the effort that we have put in, but that person. If we have given them all of the tools necessary to succeed and they fail to do so, that failure is on them. So finally, we'll move into marketing. So my marketing strategy is for getting my organization on board is to get the top 3 involved. By pitching to them that my program has the potential to decrease the amount of paperwork and disciplinary action in the squadron, I will hopefully have their blessing. With that, they'll be able to advocate for me and my program to the commander, who is the approval authority. To appeal to the individual participants, it's a bit harder because it would be mandatory for them. But I have named the program What I Wish I Knew as an Airman from an NCO perspective, implying that we are giving them secrets or tools that they do not already have. I hope that this will motivate them a bit to be interested enough to actually participate in the class. The teaching methods will be interactive to increase participation, but I definitely don't want them to come in disgruntled that they are required to be there. On the flyer, free breakfast is mentioned. Who doesn't love free breakfast? Additionally, positive shop talk about the program can also be positive marketing for the program. Having the NCOs generate good conversation about it, and once we have started it, having airmen that have already experienced the program talk about it can make the newer ones interested. So like I've got on here, the top 3, positive talk and rumble in the shops and just throughout the squadron, and then the emails and the flyers. So that is my program wrapped up in a nutshell. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I would be more than happy to answer them. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Bye.